Okay, everybody, we're going to get started here. What you're going to see here is a bunch of clips taken while I was at Seff with my MSL2. The videography here was done by a really cool friend of mine. His name's Eamon Kelly, and he had two or three different types of drones that he flew at the show. But most of this was done from two different drones, and I don't really know what they were. One was a drone that had a gimbal for the camera, and the other one was a high speed drone. So, what I want to do is talk through just some of the flying here and the way the MSL behaved, and just kind of give you an idea what it's like to fly this plane. The MSL has a 188-inch wingspan, weighs right at 58 pounds. It's a balsa construction with plywood on the firewall and a little bit of carbon fiber on the spars. It has a Hacker A100 that pulls 6,000 watts when it flies. Believe it or not, the stall speed on this aircraft is around 18 miles an hour. There is a telemetry in the airplane which has GPS that basically records my airspeed. I'm sorry, my ground speed, not my airspeed. It gives me altitude, rate of climb, and it's connected to my radio through an earphone. And it basically is telling me every 15 seconds what's going on with the airplane in my earpiece. So here you can see his drones just following my MSL around. Now, one of the things that's really interesting about this wing design is that, and I'm going to go into this more in depth in a different video later on, but the inboard section of the wing, the cord is shorter than the outboard or midsection going out. So what happens is the inboard 30% of the wing stalls way before the outboard other 60-ish percent of the wing. And what it does is when I stall, I never lose aileron authority. So it just makes for an absolutely forgiving wing. And in some of the other video here, now here you can see I'm coming around for my approach to land. And his videography of this airplane is just beyond cool. It was really exciting, and I love the shadows here. You can see I actually over flared a little bit and hopped a little bit when I landed. So, and here we're taking off again. And one of the things about this airplane that's just really, really interesting to fly is that when you get into a real high alpha, which means you really pitch the nose up and you don't have a lot of power added, you actually run out of elevator before the plane quits flying. I mean, it's absolutely amazing the way this plane stalls. And I did not mean that by design. I wish I could say I was smart enough to do that, but this was just dumb luck that I was able to do it. So, in some of these shots here, he's just, we were trying to play around with some kind of more of a cinematic shots of, him catching up to the airplane here. Right here, I'm doing about 30 miles an hour. This drone would only max out at about 40. So in many of these shots, I start to outrun him. But you also notice many times when I'm in straight flight, I'll pitch the nose up and pull the power back and give him, some time to catch up to me. Right here's one of those shots where you're going to see me raise the nose right here. And I'm pulling way back on the power, and I'm giving him a good chance to catch up to me. Now, we were at Seff, which is a big fly-in, electric fly-in once a year down in Maracus, Georgia. And if you notice right there how the drone backed off, his drone actually has some kind of an optical collision avoidance system. So when he got too close, his drone actually quit flying closer to my plane. But this was at Seff, which is in Maracus, Georgia, and we get together for a week every year. And this year the weather was absolutely beautiful. I mean, look at this shot right here. I mean, this is just absolutely beautiful. I mean, we just had so much fun with me up there flying around the sky and him chasing me with the drone. I'll tell you, it is kind of funny, though. When I'm flying the airplane, you see this little dot, like a parasitical, bug or something chasing my airplane. And it's really, really fun. And it's actually quite funny some of the times because it looks like he almost hits me. And I've told him if he runs into me, I don't care because his little drone's not going to hurt this big bastard. I mean, this plane's just, it might put some scratches and dents in it, but I really doubt it would bring it down. But here's another. You'll notice here that the I think it's this shot where the drone backs off right here, right there. See, the drone just it recognized it was too close to the plane. Now he has a high speed drone later on in some video here where he literally gets within inches of the aircraft. Here's another video of me landing, and I was getting about 5 to 6 flights a day on this airplane. I fly it just like a sports plane. Oh, now this day it was a little bit dumb thumbs day for me. That landing was just crap. So, but we just had an absolute blast. Oh, here's something we're going to show off. When I taxi in here, I think it's this clip here. But one thing I designed on this airplane was drum brakes, just like you would see like on an old 1969 Volkswagen Bug. So I had the two, brake shoes that pushed against a brake lining, which is aluminum, and I'm able to pivot the airplane. Oh, I'm sorry. It's later a video. This is another video of us flying. I thought I pivoted the airplane there. So here we wanted to do some shots where basically he tries to fly backwards a little bit, and I fly up to the drone. And it's actually really, really hard to do because keep in mind some of the drones he has, he's got a gimbal for the camera. So he's trying to fly the drone backwards while also running the zoom and the gimbal of the camera. And I think it's here where I turn around and I come back toward him. And this is where, yeah, this is me flying toward him. And I'm trying to get, basically come up and fly formation while he's flying backwards. And this was really, really difficult. And also, it was, I think this was the last day of Seff. It got really windy, but the wind was right down the runway, so it really didn't make it a problem for pilots. And yeah, you can see by the ripples on the lake that there's a lot of wind this day. So here I'm trying to fly up to him. Now you'll notice the plane bounce around a lot. That's me trying to slow fly it. Sometimes my ground speed was 12 miles an hour. And but a lot of the bouncing around was turbulence and just the air that rolls across the cornfields of Georgia. And also when I'm slow flying, the airplane's not really, really sensitive. I mean, it's pretty sluggish when I'm slow flying. But right here, I'm trying to get right up to him, and you can kind of see the plane. Now look how high my nose is, and the plane's not stalling. I mean, it's absolutely crazy how this wing works on this airplane. And I'm going to peel off to the left, which is our right here in just a minute, because we try to keep everything over the field and not get too far outside of where we should be flying. And here's another shot of me trying to come up to his drone. And I tell you, we had so much fun doing this stuff. I ended up having almost 38 or 39. I have to look at the logbook for my plane, but I think I had 38 flights at Seff on this airplane. And I have 10S 2P batteries. Each battery is a 5200 Potenza battery, or 54. I can't remember what they are, but I end up with over 10,000 milliamps, and it gives me about a 7.5 minute flight with about reserves for 1 or 2 go rounds. But here you can kind of see I'm just bouncing around with the wind, trying to slow fly it, and sometimes we try to have Eamon zoom in on the airplane, and other times we try to have him fly really close. Here you'll get to see me showing off my brake, my differential brakes, and he parked the drone right over the plane. So there you can see the right wheel brake's locked up, and I'm pivoting the plane around that brake, which is absolutely kick-ass. I mean, I didn't realize when I designed the brake system that it would work that good for differential, but it's just absolutely crazy. That gives you a good idea how big the airplane is right there too. Now this next video is where we were really trying to get right up and personal with the drone. And I still think this is some of the best video, even though we're bouncing around a lot with the wind. But, I mean, imagine this kind of video being done 35 years ago when I was doing control line and first getting into gliders. Who would have ever thought that the model aviation industry would get to the point that we could do these kind of videos? It's also very cool having those trees across. Oh, there was a good stall. Okay, I wanted to prove how the plane does not drop a wing when it's stalled. Now that was a real quick shot, And if you've got to rewind and watch that again, but that was a really heavy, aggravated stall. I went to full power, pulled the nose up, and when it broke, it just nosed over and kept flying. It did not drop a wing or anything. I love this shot here because you can kind of see the tents being set up below for Seff. The people down there just going about their business, not realizing that this aircraft's just kind of passing overhead. Here's where I wish I would have had a full-bodied pilot in the cockpit there, because I've only got a bust, and you could have seen his legs and hands on the control stick. Right there, I was trying to get it to stall, but with the turbulence and winds, it was just bouncing around. It never stalled. I never lost control of the ailerons. But those trees down below, I love to skim about 20 feet off the top of them. And you'll see in a minute with the high-speed chase drone just how cool that looks. But I love this shot right here. You would never know that that's a model airplane unless somebody told you this was a model airplane. And this is another attempt for us to kind of get close where I'm coming in toward him. Crazy thing is I was only about 40% power in a lot of these shots. I have my radio set up with a timer so that if I stay at full power more than 10 seconds, it gives me a countdown. So it's almost like bingo fuel for a fighter jet, because I want my flights to last as long as I can get them to. So basically when I take off, I use full power, but if I use it for more than 10 seconds, it tells me in my ear, and I throttle the plane back. And I try to fly between 60 and 40% most of the flight, and just see how long I can get it to stay in the air. And that's me landing. And I think the next footage is where we start with the high-speed chase drone. And there you can see me lofting it when I landed it. Oh, it was real windy right here. And a good old bounce, and you can see the flags there right down the runway. But yeah, this is just an absolute blast to fly. Oh, this is a funny shot. Eamon's a guy standing right in front of the airplane flying his drone because he's got goggles on, and he doesn't realize he's in the way of me parking the airplane. But I tell you, this is one of the coolest guys I've ever met. I mean, he's got massive skills, just a really cool guy, got a great big heart. And I tell you, the way that we coordinate some of the videos that we were doing is just really top notch. Oh, here I'm using the brake to pivot the plane around on one wheel. And I've got it set up on my rudder stick that the brake works differential when I use the rudder. I also have a slider on the back of my radio where I set the intensity of how much bias I want on the brake. Now this shot's kind of neat here. I love this shot right here. It gives you an idea of just how big the field is. Even though my airplane is massive, it's stuck in my little tent there. I loved it a lot when he did these kind of shots with his drone. And that's about, I think it's 1900 or 2100 feet of Bermuda like grass, like a driving range. And it makes for the greatest flying site that I've ever been to. The grass is always cut like a quarter-inch or less tall, so all of our EDF jets work really good on this grass. And Seff is just absolutely one of the greatest fly-ins that I get to attend. Plus, it's a whole bunch of electric guys that are all nerds like me. And then you come back in, and I'm not in that shot because I've already taken the batteries out and take them into the trailer. Now this is the high-speed drone stuff that we did. What's really neat about this is this drone can exceed the speed of my plane. And my plane that day, with the nose down, we got up to about 90 miles an hour out of a dive. So I don't know if his drone would go 90 miles an hour, but here I love this shot right here where we go across the trees here. I mean, this is just so cool. I mean, this is just fun stuff right here. Now, you'll notice in some of these shots where he literally gets within inches of the airplane, and that doesn't bother me. We're just there to have fun. I really doubt his drones could take my plane down. I mean, even if he crammed it into the side of the fuselage or took out a rudder or an aileron, I still think with the other redundant aileron or elevator at fly, I think this is a cool shot right here. He's flying backwards. I mean, this shot with his drone is crazy. He's flying basically backwards, tilting it almost on its back to stay up with me because I'm probably doing about 45 mile an hour right there. And this right here is where he gets really, really close to my vertical stab. Right there. I mean, when I was flying the airplane, I literally thought he was going to hit the airplane. But this was just beyond cool. And I'm scared to do low altitude, high speed stuff. Well, I shouldn't say high speed. It's like 55, 60 mile an hour with him. Because if he loses his drone into a tree or into the water, I would feel really, really guilty. And so at this altitude, if he ran into me, he probably, unless he breaks a prop, he could probably recover and keep flying. But I'll tell you, it's really bizarre having him flying so close to me because it's a little dot. When I'm watching my airplane and I see his drone, it's a little dot chasing me. I mean, it's like a little parasite chasing me. And it is just so bizarre. But he's flying sideways right there. I mean, that's what's really, really cool about what he's doing with his drone right there. He's flying it completely on its side. Who would have ever thought we'd be able to get these kind of shots with the sun behind it like that and everything? So, we just have a lot of fun here. And I mean, it's just crazy the things we were doing. So that's pretty much the video I wanted to do, everybody. Thanks for watching these, and I'll hopefully upload more videos soon. Rock on.